A wook is somebody who contributes nothing to an event, and Burning Man's like 60% wooks. People who come to the city with nothing more than an RV and their own selfish indulgence. Tech bros, Instagram models, B-rate celebrities. When times got rough, these people are fleeing in mass, getting stuck in the mud, ruining the roads, and ditching all their trash. As far as I can tell, 95% of the animosity against Burning Man is due to people who aren't burners. And the real burners are going to have to step up to clean up their mess if this event's going to continue to exist.
So depending on who you talk to and where you get your information from, you've probably heard a lot of different stories from Burning Man. I've heard nightmare stories from some people, and some people seem to just be chilling, still having a good time, not worried about a thing. But here's what you have to realize. I tried to explain this on my other channel. Let me do so here. Don't think of the Burning Man Festival as a festival. Think of it as a city, like its own city or civilization in the middle of the desert. Just like with any other city, you have different dynamics. You have the wealthy parts of the city. You have the middle class parts of the city. You have the poorer, lower class parts of the city. You can go through certain parts of the city and there's food and grocery stores and restaurants in abundance. And then you can go to the other part of the city and you see people sleeping in tents everywhere. It's kind of like the same thing with this Burning Man festival. You see, you got a lot of wealthy, powerful people out there who are in luxury RVs that are stacked with food and water and supplies and whatever you need. They got assistants out there, bodyguards, you name it, and they're living it up. So when you hear the story from them, they're not going to tell you how bad it is because they don't understand how bad it is, because they're in their $1 million luxury RVs with the, Wi-Fi provided by freaking Elon Musk Starlink satellites. They're living it up. Meanwhile, in the poorer parts of Burning Man, people are crammed 5 or 6 people to a tent that's filled with mud and sewage water and poop and pee. So when looking at this Burning Man situation, you have to understand that everyone is dealing with a different situation. Everyone has a different experience. And what I'm seeing right now, which I think is very frustrating, especially for the people out there who are not doing so good, you keep seeing these people make these videos, oh, everything's fine. And all of those people are making videos from their RVs. Because most of those people are in the richer part of Burning Man, okay? A lot of these Burning Man festival goers, they could never afford to even stay in that part of the Burning Man city. There's little different areas everywhere, and it's not necessarily mixed in. The people who can't afford to pay as much, the people who don't have their own campers and RVs and big trucks and equipment, they're on the outskirts of the city. They're like the projects. They're like the ghetto. They're like Tent City, where the homeless people stay. They're all in these little tents. Most of them did not come with anything. They rely on other people at Burning Man to supply them with food and water. So they don't have anything. Their situation is very different than the situation that these rich, snobby people are dealing with. And they're making videos kicked up in hammocks. Oh, we're not worried. Everything's okay. Yeah, because look at your situation and compare it to these other people who are sleeping in, mud, who are getting rained on constantly, who are suffering from hypothermia. People have died out here. And then you got the rich people like, oh, there's nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. Yeah, just because things are fine for you doesn't mean that things are fine for everyone else. And now we're going into a point where they're going to start trying to get people out of Burning Man today. It was suggested that they wait until Thursday, but these rich people, they're tired of it. They don't want to be out there anymore. They're ready to leave. They're complaining. A lot of them already left early on, which shows you, that there's kind of a privilege. Oh, you're Chris Rock. Oh, you can escape everyone else. You got to stay in place. So that's what's happening out here. And now all of these rich people with their big campers and their big trucks and all of their equipment, they're about to try to leave today. And meanwhile, everyone else is going to be left behind. And I can guarantee you the road in and out of this place is going to get messed up even more, because you have tens of thousands of people who are all going to try to exit, tearing up these muddy roads. And the people in the tents and stuff, they're going to be left behind. Like I said, this community aspect, it goes out the door really quickly. And before me and you even knew that there was a problem at Burning Man, a lot of these rich and powerful people already got out of there, okay? They got out of there before things even got too bad. There's some still left behind, but now they're going to try to exit today, and in the process, they're going to make things worse for everyone else. This is supposed to be a community event where everyone feeds each other, they give each other water, they come together as a community. You know, I'll fix your sandals if you give me a hot dog. Like, there's random stuff like that going on, but now all of these trailers, with all of the food and water, they're going to be trying to leave, whereas everyone else who came basically with nothing but themselves, they're going to be left behind. But let's go ahead and roll this clip so you can see what they're saying on the news, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Chaos at Burning Man. For those not too familiar with the event, this is what it looks like in a normal year. The 9-day festival draws roughly 70,000 people, including celebrities, to the desert, about 120 miles outside of Reno, Nevada.
It's known as a celebration of art, self-expression, with organizers calling it an excuse to party in the desert. And check it out. This is what Burning Man looked like over the weekend after heavy rain turned the area into miles and miles of thick mud that some compared to quicksand.
At least one person has died, tens of thousands still stuck there this morning. Things so dire, even President Biden has been briefed on the situation. We have the very latest for you, including a live report from the scene. We'll begin with NBC's Chloe Malas, who joins us with the very latest. Good morning.
Good morning. The CEO of the festival tells me the spirit of creative resilience and community that Burning Man is built on is helping everyone power through this extreme weather. But we are also learning just how dicey the conditions have been from the few folks who were able to make it out on foot.
This morning, the harrowing escape to make it out of Burning Man.
The entire place is absolutely just soaked.
After 2 days of heavy rainfall left more than 70,000 trapped in thick mud in the middle of the remote Nevada desert.
Driving a vehicle right now is impossible. There is absolutely no way you can move a vehicle through this right now.
The local sheriff's office now probing the death of one person during the rain event. The cause still under investigation. But the festival says the death was not storm-related.
I think I could be trapped here for a couple more days.
The unprecedented downpour started Friday. Festival organizers telling burners to shelter in place and to conserve food, water, and fuel while closing roads both in and out of the playa.
Did you all know that this was likely going to happen?
We get a daily weather report. There was no cause for panic.
Burning Man CEO Marianne Goodell telling me the self-reliant community of burners came well prepared for desert extremes.
We've made it really clear that we do not see this as an evacuation situation and that the community is patient and the water is drying up.
The sludge not stopping some from making the treacherous journey by foot.
We took everything we needed to survive on our backs.
Desperate to make it back to their children at home, Bear Kate and his wife walked 6 miles to the nearest open road.
There were actually rivers that were flooding through the playa where we had to test and see how deep they were. My wife was carried across the river by a very strong man who carried her on her back.
Some celebrities literally following in their footsteps.
We walked 3 miles now. We got, I think, 5 more.
DJ Diplo and comedian Chris Rock also trudging through the mud for miles before being rescued by Good Samaritans. Back at the camp, trapped burners coming together and holding on to hope that the weather finally clears in time for the annual Burn the Man finale, proving nothing can extinguish the spirit of this decades-long movement.
It's funny seeing a lot of these stories come out of Burning Man because it's clear that there's a lot of cope going on. The reality is a lot of these people, they're embarrassed right now. People make fun of these Burning Man people a lot. People talk down about Burning Man. There's jokes about these people all the time. So they're really trying to do whatever they can to protect Burning Man's image. And the reality is a lot of these people went out there and spent thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars just to be there. So they don't want to admit that it was a disaster. They don't want to admit that it wasn't a great time. They want to act as if everything was okay, everything's jolly and rainbows, but that's not the situation on the ground. People are getting sick. The mud is burning their skin. People are cold, suffering from hypothermia. People are hungry. They're running out of water. And meanwhile, we have the more wealthy people who are out there trying to act like everything's okay as they're in their luxury trailers and RVs. You know, they're taking dumps on nice little toilets while other people are slushing around in poop mud. You know what I mean? So their vision and their reality is almost totally different than the other people who are attending this festival. And that sounds weird because you think, oh, it's a festival, everyone's dealing with the same experience. But that's not the case at all. There's so many different dynamics out at Burning Man. There's levels to it, if you will. And like I said, people are sectioned off by classes in a way. And they don't want to view it. And the people that at Burning Man won't tell you that, but that's the reality. If you got this much money, you get to be in this part of camp. If you got this much money and you're willing to pay extra and early, you can be in this part of camp. Oh, you don't got that much money, you go to this part of camp. Oh, you don't have any like car or anything, we're going to put you in this part of camp. There's so many dynamics and there's so many different people, over 70,000 people out here, all with their own experiences. And unfortunately, for a lot of these people, you're never really going to know how bad the situation got because the more prominent voices are speaking out from their RVs pretending like everything's okay, when in reality they know that they regret spending $20,000, $30,000 to go get rained on in the middle of the desert. But let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.